We have a misguided belief that when we get that thing, we will be happy.
Right.
It's quite the opposite. When we are feeling good in a high vibe energy, we're already happy and we are a magnet for more of that thing and more and more and more and more. We have got it all wrong. And so when we flip that and your priority, your highest priority is what can I do to feel good today? If you make that your highest priority, your entire life will change.
That's spiritual teacher Gabby Bernstein. I'm Leah Smart, and this is Everyday Better. Stay tuned to hear more about how a shift in both your mindset and your heart can help you cultivate hope and create the life you really want to live. And before we get started, a quick reminder of an announcement I shared at the beginning of this month. In mid-February, Everyday Better is taking a pause while I go on maternity leave and give my family and my home life some much-needed love and attention. And I hope to return this show back to you at the beginning of next year, so stay tuned for that. Now, if you know me and you know this show, you know that I am a lifelong learner, and I will keep on learning even while I'm on mat leave. And I cannot learn something without telling you about it. So this is absolutely not the end of my work in this space. It's just a pause in the audio show. Now, the shift does mean that I will have a little more of a separation of church and state, if you will, and that's a great thing. In my role at LinkedIn, I'll be leaning back into my leadership and executive coaching work, which I love. And that's tools like my certification in the Enneagram, one of my favorite things in the world, something called Leadership Circle, and a lot of the work I've done in supporting founders to develop a stronger sense of what vision for their leadership and communication with their colleagues looks like at its best. If you're a LinkedIn Premium subscriber, you'll see me interviewing, coaching, hosting workshops, and much more, so you can find me there. But if not, fear not, I have also finally started a Substack, so I'll be writing more this year about all of this work that you've heard me talk about since the beginning, as it relates to the phases of life, both personal and professional, that shape us. And I got to tell you, I love writing almost as much as I love interviewing, and I have missed it dearly. I've missed writing from my heart as a human and not just as a professional while I focused on the podcast. So I cannot wait to come back to that this year. I've also got my videos on Instagram and on YouTube. Links are going to be in the show notes, but I've also got all my handles lined up so you can find me at It's Leah Smart. Keep following us for more updates and keep tuning in through February for a few more new episodes. I have been having a blast taping. Lastly, I have a favor to ask. If you've listened to this show and you have never left us a review on Apple or Spotify, please do it before we go on hiatus. Myself and my team would love to know what has been most impactful for you about our show or about episodes that you're listening to. And if you're new here, be sure to follow Everyday Better so that you know when we come off of hiatus. Okay, thanks for listening. That's it from me. You're the best. And we'll be right back with Gabby Bernstein. Hey everyone, from LinkedIn News, this is Everyday Better, a show about the tools you need to create positive change in your mindset, your work, and every other area of your life. I'm Leah Smart, LinkedIn's senior editor and a certified professional coach, and I help people become better versions of themselves one day at a time. Every week, I sit down with a trusted voice so together we can explore how to take small steps toward big changes, the kind we plan for, strive toward, or never saw coming. This month, we've talked about the theme of our January series, which is this idea of irrational hope in 2026. It's the belief that things can change, things can even get better, despite any and all evidence that might point to the contrary. And today, in the third episode of this series, I sat down with Gabby Bernstein, a spiritual teacher, speaker, bestselling author of 11 books, and one of the people who really impacted the foundation of my self-development work. Now, Gabby was a gateway into discovering what my spirituality, or as you're about to hear her say, building a faith of my own understanding meant. I first discovered her in 2018 when I was going through what my friend Bruce, whom you met 2 episodes ago, would call a life quake. I'd moved across the country, gone through a pretty bad breakup, and I had this underlying sense of what I might want to do with my entire career, but it felt so impossible. Hint, hint, it's what I'm doing now. And enter Gabby's book, The Universe Has Your Back. It helped me open up to this idea that my life could change for the better and that I could shape it into exactly what I wanted it to be. Here's the caveat: as long as I was aligned to my intentions and not to my emotional tie to specific outcomes and results. That's tough work, but it's part of the real work of what she teaches. Now, in this week's episode, I finally got to meet Gabby in person after almost a decade. And we had a super grounded, spiritual, and practical conversation about how simple shifts, the small choices we can choose to make every single day, can help us cultivate irrational hope and create the life we want to live. You're all going to have to excuse my pregnancy congestion in this conversation, and honestly, right now, I'm so sorry, but just pretend it's not happening and you will get used to it. I promise this conversation is worth it. Here's Gabby. I came to your work at a time when I think I needed it most. Meeting you now, though, I want to know, I know your story and you don't have to tell the whole story, but what is the intention behind the work that you do?
To give people the exact experience that you had, to help people connect to and awaken to a spiritual relationship of their own understanding, a spiritual relationship that's theirs.
What does that mean?
Well, I'll ask you. What did it mean? What did it mean to you listening to the book and feeling a new mindset opening?
This was the first bit of permission to really be the OkCupid spiritual, not religious checkbox.
Yes, yes.
I grew up Christian, and in my late teens and then early 20s, I very much was like, I'm not doing this. I don't know what this is. I don't trust it. I don't believe it. And I want to create my own world, my own life. And I didn't ever know what that meant. So people would be like, are you agnostic? Are you atheist? Everyone wants to categorize. And I was like, no, I don't really know. Yeah. This was relief.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's the thing. My body was like, oh, it's just a breath. I'm like, I can just explore. Yeah. I can just find out. So many people are like, well, what's the science? What's the this? What's the that? And the thing that I felt with this was something has opened within me that has nothing to do with practicality or logic, but has everything to do with the way in which I and all of the energy and all of the things I believe are around me can guide me in the direction I need to go. And I can have sort of this endless well of faith in the fact that my life can be what I want. Yes. The manifestation, but also that my life is about learning and there are lessons. Yeah. And so not only did I feel I could create, but I also felt my capacity to hold challenges and difficulties shifted.
I'm thinking in my heart right now, what a success story you are for me. because that answer of checking the box of spiritual, not religious. And by the way, it can be spiritual and religious
too.
Right?
Also,
I mean, I don't want to take anything away from that.
Very fair, yeah.
Because also religion is a gateway to your spiritual connection. Yeah. But to have no boundaries around it and to be limitless about it and have your own sense of unshakable faith. Yeah. That is my mission. So you being here in my presence telling me the story is a fulfillment of my mission.
What you want people to have.
That's what I want. I want people to wake up to the miraculous. I want people to remember how their capacity to change their thoughts, change their energy, open up to a faith of their own understanding is your power. That is your innate power that so many of us actually live with misalignment from that power. And that's my work, is to help people get realigned. And reconnected. Yeah. It's really about remembering. It's unlearning and remembering. Unlearning all of the stories and fears and traumas and beliefs that have been the tapestry of our life, and remembering at the core who we really are, which is we are spiritual, we are connected, we are divinely guided, we are super supported at all times. We have an energy and a capacity to tap into an energy beyond our physical sight. And I can say that with full conviction. Yeah.
You talked about the miraculous, which I want to pause on. For our friends, I do love talking to a skeptic, but for our friends who are coming to us and going, what does that mean? I want to say that there's a phrase or concept that you talk about that for me really simplified what we're talking about, which is in any instance, I'm either coming from a place of love or a place of fear.
That's right.
Talk to me about I don't even know if we have to explain that, but
it is the simplicity of that. What lens am I choosing to perceive my reality through? Am I looking at my life through the lens of fear? Am I looking at my life through the lens of love? The lens of fear is based on attachment and attack thoughts and judgment and separation and feelings of being inadequate or unlovable or less than or better than. And in any form of separation, we are forgetting who we really are. We're in a storyline of I am better than, I am less than, I am going to, prove myself, or I am going to fail. These perceptions create our reality. When we start to reprogram our mind and have our own personal development, spiritual development of whatever path we choose, we start to undo those separate thoughts, and we start to undo the fear thoughts that became so ingrained in us. And what happens instead is that we start to believe in that love. We start to believe in our capacity. We start to believe in our limitlessness. We start to believe in our ability, really simply, to create a different reality when we choose higher level thoughts and higher level beliefs.
So, okay, one of the things I want to point out is fear is not just about being small, or at least say appearing small. So someone who's, awkward or, talks really fast or talks low. All the things that kind of tell you that someone might be experiencing this feeling of fear or shame. That feels like an obvious one.
Yeah.
You called out the better than, which is a really interesting thing, because how do we know we're in fear? It's not always that we feel fear, maybe at the basis, but the way it could look is I'm better than you. And so to people around you, it could look like, oh, that person thinks they're better than all of us. Yeah. They're cocky, they're whatever, but really deep down, it's fear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I just had this conversation with my 7-year-old yesterday. I have very profound personal development conversations with him. And I'm looking at him, and he's in this situation where he's really sometimes very bossy and bullying to the younger kids, like little kids that are my family friends or whatever, people that come over.
Yep.
And later, instead of being like, you can't do that, why are you acting like that? I just sat him down and I was like, bro, what's going on? Right. Yeah. And I was just curious, like, is there something happening inside of you that makes you feel like you need to do that? And he's like, well, I have a part of my brain that doesn't like how the bully in my class treats me. So I need to treat Porter like that so that I don't have to think about how the bully treats me.
No way.
And I was like,
may he be a lesson to every adult.
And I sat there with him and we talked it through. And I was like, okay, so you learned that this bully in your class makes you feel like you have to, be this and this and this. And it makes you feel better temporarily to do that to the little kid. And I was like, okay.
And he says, yes.
Yes. He's like,
that's
yes,
true.
That's right.
Wow.
Exactly. I just stayed curious. I stayed compassionate. I stayed connected to him, recognizing in this moment with my child at 7 years old, he's learned a fear, which is that if I'm not the bully, I'm not good enough. The fact that I can sit with him and process that hopefully will give him another way of perceiving that self, that part of himself, and to have compassion for that part of himself. But the biggest thing here is to see that as children, we all have these moments that Ollie's having right now.
Right.
These moments of that I don't feel adequate, so I have to make myself seem better than, or I have to hide and shrink, or I have to, whatever it is that we've been doing to protect ourselves. And that protection is we're protecting against fear. We're protecting against feelings of inadequacy and unlovability. And so ultimately, it's a path of really recognizing, okay, I learned these experiences and behaviors, but they're only real in my internal world.
Yep.
But if I unwind that and heal that inner perception, my outside world will change.
Why?
Because our outside world is a complete mirror reflection of what we believe on the inside. Okay? For instance, I walked in today, I am inside, I feel today, after 20 years of a lot of, spiritual therapeutic work,
Yep.
I have a lot of groundedness. I have a lot of confidence. I have a lot of clarity. I have a lot of calmness and connection. My mission is clear. I want to feel connected to people. I want to love people.
Yeah.
I want people to feel good in my presence. So what happened today? Got in an Uber and the guy was a little annoyed that I was late. And I was like, God bless you, sweetheart. Thank you so much for being there. Happy New Year. How's your year going? Genuine, right?
Yep.
Walked in the door, walked out of the doctor's office. I hope you all have a blessed year. Their faces lit up, right?
Yeah.
Got in the next Uber. He was late. Okay, it's okay, man. Let's just get there. We got it. And then come in the door here. I'm just so happy to see you. Give you a huge hug. Okay, so how is my day going? My day is rocking, okay? Because I am showing up for life with an attitude of I want to bring light. I want to be the light. I want people to feel good in my presence. I want to feel good in the presence of others. When I see people light up and feel seen, that makes me feel even more seen. Being a bearer of love and being in a worldview of people are good.
Yeah.
People want to see themselves in that light. And if you witness them in that light, they can see that in themselves.
Wow. I want to continue here because this is the month that we're exploring this idea of the year for irrational hope. This idea of irrational hope for me feels really resonant for this year because I think in so many corners of the world for people individually, in relationship, in society, things feel so crazy. So uncertain. So what are we doing? Who are we becoming? I mean, you have so many
really
different
scary.
inputs, right? I want to know how you think about the way that we show up for a year for irrational hope using some of your principles.
Yeah, well, I'm actually living this right now because I'm writing a book called Unshakable Faith. Yeah. This is a time where if we don't have a faith of our own understanding at this time in history, we will suffer. Period. If we don't have a way of tending to our inner world and having a way of shaking out the fear and clarifying what's happening on the inside,
right,
then we're going to feel like the victim of the outside world. So it's not that you have to have my spiritual faith or your friend's spiritual faith. It's your own. It's yours. It could be your religious faith. It could be what you were brought up with. It could be that you start listening to this interview and you're inspired. It doesn't really matter. But what we need is to have a faith in some kind of higher power and a faith in energy again, and a faith in kindness again, and a faith in community and connection. So the living with irrational hope right now, to me, what does that mean? It means that we are facing into this forward momentum of a lot of uncertainty and chaos, but we have an anchor inward that is our through line, and that we connect to that inner anchor daily, throughout the day, as often as possible, to say, okay, what compass am I going to let lead me?
Yeah.
And this inner compass, as we develop it, is going to be the gentler, softer path. And so that unshakable faith, that sense of irrational hope comes naturally when we develop that inner spiritual center. That happens through stillness. That happens through intentions or prayers, however you choose to talk about it.
Yes. Yeah.
And so how do we build in these moments of stillness? How do we establish a daily meditation practice? How do we use our breath as an anchor? What are the choices that we make about how we want to perceive things in our life? Those questions have to be questions we ask ourselves on a daily basis, because if we don't ask ourselves those questions, then we're going to get sucked in to the machine of all of the chaotic.
We'll be right back with Gabby Bernstein sharing more on irrational hope, not just for ourselves, but how we cultivate it at a community and societal level. And we're back with Gabby Bernstein. Irrational hope, to me, applies to our personal lives, applies to our relationships, applies to our communities, and then applies at a societal level.
Yeah.
Which does not feel like it's within our control.
Yeah.
What you said was being able to use the affirmation that I go out into the world with the most positive energy.
Yes.
Could make someone today go, well, what about the fact that so-and-so over here is doing that?
Yeah.
And so-and-so over here is doing that. And you've also illuminated that when you go out into the world, or any of us goes out into the world and treats every person as if you can see the light within them, they can then see the light within themselves.
Yeah.
So this is it's like a domino effect of the way in which we treat people and how we can, in our own way, impact or change our own corner of the world.
We can. We have to. And so for that person, it's like, well, so-and-so is doing this to me and so-and-so is doing that to me. I would challenge that person and say, well, see what happens when you meet them with love. See what happens when you meet them with compassion. See what happens when you see that activated part of them is just a protection mechanism. And stay neutral. Even just stay silent. Like somebody I work with that I love really deeply was on the phone with me today, and she was sort of getting into her part, of like, everything's so difficult. And then I just, instead of trying to challenge it or right her wrong or whatever, I just stayed silent and I let her listen to herself. And that, I listen, I mean, like, I have a million stories that I've placed on her for years and years, but I'm now moving out of that story. And I'm wanting her to support her in moving out of that story. But no amount of me like training her or schooling her is going to work. So I was just like silent. And then I saw her sort of unwind it and turn the story around.
And that's it. So you've already shared practical things that I think is really important. I know you care a lot about practicality. What can we do? Not how do we stay up here in the ethereal, but how do we bring this down and et cetera. One of the ways I think about this, and one of the reasons I love your work, is considering the vision for what we want to see for our lives. My emotions are creating energy. And as we know, emotions don't last very long, but the stories we tell ourselves certainly do. And that's why we go, God, I'm having a really bad day. It's like, no, you had a really bad moment. And you expanded that, like we all have done, into your day. So the way that I think about this at a practical level is that if emotions are energy in motion, then we can cultivate our own sense of the emotion or energy we want to feel. And if we can cultivate the energy we want to feel, then we can actually feel that energy of the circumstances we're hoping to create before the thing happens.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay. So like if we're transitioning to this idea of like irrational hope, but also this vision we want for ourselves, because it is January, how do you make sense of that for people who are going, well, no, I feel good when the thing happens. I feel good when the promotion shows up. I feel good when I meet the person.
That's such a great question. So we have a misguided belief that when we get that thing, we will be happy.
Right.
It's quite the opposite. When we are feeling good in a high vibe energy, we're already happy and we are a magnet for more of that thing and more and more and more and more. We have got it all wrong. And so when we flip that and your priority, your highest priority is, what can I do to feel good today? If you make that your highest priority, your entire life will change. So me waking up this morning and saying to my husband, I'm going to go to bed now because I didn't get a good sleep last night. And then I woke up at 7, almost got 12 hours of sleep, like just reset my clock. That made me feel good. Woke up. Then I, got on the call and the woman I work with was going down her story and I didn't engage in it. That made me feel good. I walked into the doctor's office and I was, hey, everybody, have a blessed year. That made me feel good. I am doing whatever it takes to lean into what feels good. Now, some people may be like, oh, I don't have the luxury of sleeping 12 hours, or I don't have the luxury of being able to walk through life with joy. Okay, so what is one small thing that you can do to feel better today? Let's say you hate your job, but you like the coffee machine. Go sit and have a good coffee, right? Let's say that you are, everything in your life is sort of completely out of whack. Okay, go outside, go for a walk, smile at a stranger, feel their energy shift, and then feel the shift inside of you. These are the small micro spiritual moments that we have to start to activate in our life so that we can actually start to feel those subtle shifts. And those subtle shifts, my love, when we add up those subtle shifts, that's when our life changes.
And that's the miraculous, right?
Completely.
Yeah. And that's where I think people get lost in the manifestation, miracles, it's all like, BS magic, whatever. what I understand of your work and of the work that I resonate most with is that if I can sit in my own, if I can create my own experience, if I can create my own or understand the reality I'm creating, then I can have the experience that I want.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
maybe like I'll use an example. I, in my 20s, had a ton of debt.
Mm-hmm.
I had moments where I was drowning.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this.
Yeah.
My anxiety was through the roof, etc. I also chose moments
Yep.
to somehow
Mm-hmm.
cultivate this sense of hope that
Mm-hmm.
things could change.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that meant. Like literally the how, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I knew that things could change.
Mm-hmm.
And it was when they started to shift as I shifted my career, but also when I met my husband. It just so happened that he lived in an apartment that allowed us to be able to save money and
Yeah.
for me to not be in debt
Exactly.
anymore.
There you go.
And you couldn't have told me at 27 or 28 when I was
Yeah.
freaking out about this, that this would be the way it unfolded,
Mm-hmm.
but it did.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, if you had said 8 years from now, I'd have been like, that's a lifetime away.
Yeah.
But here I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And to have a completely different perception and to have not wasted those 8
Yes,
years.
that's right.
In
That's
this
right.
like downward spiral is
And
enormous.
also accelerating the miracle. You can accelerate the miracles in your life when you commit fully to faith, an irrational hope, a way of living that is not overriding your fear, because that's not really effective either,
Yep.
but witnessing your fear, breathing into your fear, feeling your fear, and then forgiving that fear thought, saying, oh, that's a thought that I keep thinking, but I have the power to change that thought. I have the power to choose again. I have the power to shift my energy in this moment. And then doing that over and over and over and over again, because this is a reconditioning. I mean, we are programmed to just be so embedded in the fear and let the fear just run our lives. And especially for those of us who have the privileges to wake up in the morning and have a cup of coffee to actually get to work, because there's plenty of people in this world that don't have nearly the privileges that we have, and we have to shift the energy for them.
What about the people today who are like, well, Gabby, have you watched the news lately? You're not talking about becoming quote unquote spiritual and disappearing onto a mountaintop.
I am very connected to what's happening in the world.
Right.
I am extremely awake to what's happening globally, what's happening politically, what's happening technologically, what's happening with AI. I see the path we are on, and I'm concerned. And as a result of having that concern, I'm just empowered to really rev up my mission, because the shift that's required is an energetic shift. And that energetic shift will help leaders. That energetic shift will help activists. That energetic shift will change attitudes. That energetic shift will help people have more of an impact with their words rather than feel like they're shouting at a wall. And it's required. I mean, it's what I call spiritual activism. And
Oh, I love that.
I mean, you're a spiritual activist. You know, doing this podcast is an act of spiritual activism.
Yeah.
And it's being, I just got chills. It's really being in the commitment of the light. I know that sounds heady for people out there, but the light energy will cast out all of this fear.
Yeah.
And that can sound super heady. That can sound too woo-woo. Let's boil it down. The positive momentum that we can create in our local environment has an effect locally, which has an effect globally. Period.
Yes.
That's it.
I mean, I know it's like a small study, but I remember the one in Chicago where they send I think it was a monk.
The Maharishi effect.
Exactly. The
Mm-hmm.
Maharishi effect, where people go into a space, they
meditated,
and then they're able to actually see a
the
change
crime
in the
rates
behavior.
went down. The crime rates went down.
Right.
You
That's
change
it.
the frequency and everything starts to shift.
One of the other practical ways I think about this too is a friend of mine. She teaches this idea of the coat of arms. So it's like, who am I when I'm going up the upward spiral or up the mood elevator, or I'm at the top of the mood elevator? And so mine was warm, confident, trusting, and light.
Yeah.
And what I made up is I started to teach this to other people and work with people in my coaching capacity is also the coat of harms.
Yeah.
Who am I down on the spiral, down the elevator? I'm worried. I'm anxious. I'm small. I'm small. Actually, that feels, And so it's this visual idea of like a coat of arms split into 4 with your words. And when I come back to it, it's like, oh, Am I there or am I here?
Knowing the difference of the resonance, right? I often have asked people very similar things. When you're in a misaligned, low vibrational energy, what do you feel like, right?
Yeah.
And then what does it feel like when you're in your highest vibration? And so having that awareness, for me, it's like just like similar, like my jaw is clenched. I feel like constricted. I feel clenched, literally. I feel like even my hands might physically do this, right? It's like a protection energy. And then when I'm not in that space and I'm in my free energy, I'm just words that are not mine come to me. I feel free. My hands can even go numb. I just feel so energetically alive. And my heart starts to palpitate in a good way, like excitedness. So we have to sort of know the difference between those two energies and start to witness them just with compassion. Okay, where am I at right now?
So would you say that like if I am into New Year's resolutions and I want to start this year, feeling this sense of irrational hope, knowing or believing I can create a vision, is it possible to accomplish, like, I want to build a business this year that's really successful?
I'm going to say very frankly, yes, change your thoughts, you change your life. That's all true. And if you reprogram your thoughts and you're leaning towards higher vibrations and you're hearing some of these small steps of leaning in, all of that's true. You're going to experience change. You will. I mean, it's just the law. You change your frequency, you change your life. The biggest frequency change happens, though, when you unburden these fear-based beliefs.
Got it.
And so this is a big step in the spiritual practice, which is witnessing these fear-based beliefs, seeing them through the lens of compassion, loving them through the lens of compassion, offering them some support with curiosity and compassionate connection, saying, what do you need? And just having an inner dialogue all throughout the day gives those parts of you, they're little children inside, gives them a sense of knowing I'm not alone. And when that relationship with these fear parts starts to become normal to you, then it actually accelerates your capacity to create more and to have more success. Because the belief, I'll give you myself as an example. I'm 46, so for let's call it 45 years, I lived with the misguided belief that if I don't do it, nobody else will do it. And that misguided belief created a lot of chaos in my life. It really held me back. It blocked my purpose and my mission in many ways.
If I don't do it, nobody else will.
If I don't do it, nobody else will. And so I wound up, and this is what a tarot card reader told me yesterday. I was like, she's like, you're juggling 1,000 plates in the air, and some of them are china, and some of them are Tupperware. And she's like, you got to let go of the Tupperware. You got to drop the Tupperware. And that was such a metaphor for me, because my belief, the misguided belief, if I don't do it, nobody else will, put me juggling Tupperware that was taking me away from the china. And so the healing work that I have done to heal the part of me, the little girl inside, that believed that if I don't do it, nobody else will, that tremendous life-changing work that I've done that's based on the work that's in my book, Self-Help, has freed that part to feel so safe inside with my guidance, with me, Gabby, as the inner healer, right? The self-led leader inside, so that she can now notice those moments where she's about to take something on and say, oh, no.
I'm not doing it.
Nope, not part of my plan anymore. I'm not dropping the Tupperware.
That's Tupperware.
Correct. I got to focus on the china, and somebody else can do the other part. That is such a huge change for me. And it's only the result of living in that inner work as well as the spiritual development.
You have a phrase that I love, which is, I see that I am out of alignment with my power and I choose peace instead of this, which is really, again, it's a simple, straightforward way to just change your energy, change your vibe.
I think that's actually a really nice way to close the conversation, because I choose to see peace instead of this can be an affirmation that people just make their mantra. Because in every moment when you're hit with this, like you're assaulted by some story on the internet, or somebody's rude to you, or you've been told you're not good enough, I choose to see peace instead of this. Just say it. See the shift inside. Feel the affirmation embodied in you. I choose to see peace instead of this.
And that's not pretending that you don't see the thing. It's making the choice.
It's choice. It's your choice in that moment. And that choice, that affirmation might guide you to first just feel a little spark of hope. It might guide you to walk away. It might guide you to shut the computer. It might guide you to just journal a bit or meditate more, or go outside. It's a pattern interrupt.
I love that. All right. So Gabby, I'm going to have you answer these 3 statements for me. Better humans are
kind.
better work is.
Creative.
And a better world has.
Love.
Oh, yeah. That was Gabby Bernstein, spiritual teacher, speaker, and author of the best-selling books The Universe Has Your Back, Super Attractor, Self-Help, and more. If you like this episode, make sure you check out the earlier episodes in our January series on the year for Irrational Hope, first with Bruce Feiler, and then second with the awesome Debbie Millman. We talked about this visioning exercise called the 10-year plan, which will act as a really nice kind of complement and partner to some of what Gabby and I chatted about today. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. Everyday Better is a production of LinkedIn News. The show is produced by Rachel Wong and Ava Ahmadbegi. Asaf Gadron is our sound engineer. Tim Boland mixed our show. We get additional support from Alex Kuznetsova and Mujib Merdad. Sarah Storm is our senior producer. Dave Pond is head of production and creative operations. Maya Pope-Chappelle is director of content and audience development. Courtney Koop is head of original programming. Dan Roth is LinkedIn's editor-in-chief and vice president of content development. And I'm Leah Smart. Thanks for coming with me, and we'll see you next week for the final episode in our Irrational Hope series with ABC News anchor turned author and mindfulness and meditation advocate, Dan Harris.